You were born in the Philippines and moved to Mississauga. Can you tell me a little bit about your family? Do you have a big family, and do they keep you grounded?
Completely. I moved from the Philippines with my family when I was about 2 years old, I believe. I always look back and like my parents were about 35, 36 when they had moved here with 3 kids, new to Canada. And, I don't want to, basically starting over. I don't want to say starting, but essentially you are starting over. And for them, we always ask, why did you choose to move here? Like, if we were back there, we joke, we're like, we could have a nanny, we could have had this, right?
Good food.
Right? Yeah, and we have great food. My mom's like an amazing cook. But when we moved here, my parents worked so hard and to see what they've accomplished on the time that they were here. And they said the reason why we moved here was to give you guys a better future. There's just so much more opportunity here. And for that, I will never take for granted. And that's why I just say, just keep pursuing what you want to do, because they've managed to do that with 3 kids and be successful. And a big part of what I remember growing up is my parents are so heavily involved in the community. Yeah. And that's also one of the things that attracted me to being part of the Argos, is their involvement in community. It's something that I've always done my entire life. My parents are busybodies. They're whether they're volunteering for something, they're involved in the Filipino community. They're working 9 to 5. They're traveling to take us to baseball games or basketball games when we were in sports. They're just go, and they're such strong people that I admire so much. Mm-hmm. I have an older brother and a younger brother, so
you're in the middle.
I'm the middle child and only girl. So it was interesting growing up. My dad likes to say that with my older brother, we loved having the sibling rivalry with each other. Because he's like, your brother would be in sports, and you're like, if he could do it, I could do it too. Yeah. And I was like, I guess that worked out, because sports is something I love, and it's something that my brothers and I really connect with. Yeah. And my younger brother, he's so amazing. He's into comics, into food. He's a chef.
Oh, that's good.
So they both of them really balance me out, and it's funny because they have this really big football player build, even though none of them played football, but they have a huge football build, and everyone jokes that they're my bodyguards.
I was gonna say they're protecting you.
Yeah, they are, and it's funny. They're like, "Oh, are you overprotective of your sister?" They're like, "No, she can handle herself." Yeah. And I was like, "Exactly."
And what do they think about you? Hosting, reporting, being out at the games? Like, do they come to some of the games?
They do come to some games. My younger brother actually moved to Hamilton.
Okay.
And
there's a rivalry there, Hamilton
Tigers. Why did you move to Hamilton of all places? And he was just like, don't worry. He's like, I wear my Argos hat every time I'm there, and don't worry, I got this.
Or the Argos hat and then the Hamilton Tigers hat over
top? No. I'd be like, what are you doing? They come to games. It's just funny when they do see the articles. They actually like to just poke fun, or they like to just chirp me a lot. So they keep me very grounded. And my parents are like, just make sure you talk about how grateful you are. And I was like, absolutely, I did.
When you go for the Oscars, that little one line in your speech. Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, they're such hardworking people. My whole family, they're so hardworking. And they really are the people who keep me grounded, because, you could get caught up. And I always get caught up in go, because there's so many things to do. Yeah. And they're always like, okay, just don't get overwhelmed, and you know
who you are.
Yeah, and they're just and they know where my triggers are and whatnot. So going home, when I go home to them, they just know how to I could be myself and just let everything loose. I do come from a huge family. Yeah. My mom has a lot of brothers and sisters. My dad, same thing, and family means so much to me. And I was very lucky to grow up with a lot of my cousins. Mm-hmm. So when I say I have 2 brothers, I mean I really have a huge family.
Village of people.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
And that's normal to me.
Yeah. You talked about food, and you said your mom's a great cook. My brother-in-law is part Filipino, but outside of that, I know growing up in Toronto, you have access to different cultures and foods and things like that you can sample. So what is your favorite Filipino dessert?
Oh my gosh.
And I can tell you what mine is. I am feeling that halo.
Okay, that's different.
And
okay.
I love the purple yam, the purple
ube?
cake. Yep.
Oh, so good. Well, and halo, they have the ube ice cream in it.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, it's the purple yam ice cream. So ube is one of my favorites. Yeah. In terms of dessert, I have to think about this.
They're also delicious.
They
They're
are.
just like,
I mean, a lot of them are like rice-based.
yeah, or custard or something. Yeah.
Oh, custard.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think, right? Or they're coconut flavored. My mom always makes that. I'm very lucky because my mom and her sisters, and like them growing up in the Philippines, they owned a bakery.
Oh,
So
direct access.
oh my gosh, my aunts, they make such a mean cake, and it's just fresh, and there's buttercream on it. It's a light chiffon. It's so good. I can't in terms of dessert, like.
I think we just mentioned all the best ones.
I think I mentioned all the best ones. I mean, I wouldn't call it a dessert, but it is a sweet pastry, which is the ensaimada or the mamon. So it's like it's bread with sugar and cheese and butter on top. I don't know if you've had it.
I think I've tried that before.
Yeah, but halo on a hot day.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like on a day like today.
It's crushed ice, red beans, syrup, all of that, and ice cream.
I'm like, where can we go get one?
I know 3 places.
Going back to, you talked about the Huddle Up campaign. We were talking about it earlier. How did you get involved in that? And, I know you get to meet young people and talk to them about self-confidence and bullying and what does that mean for you to be a part of that?
So one of the reasons what attracted me to being part of the Argos cheerleaders was their community involvement. One of their programs is the Huddle Up Bullying Prevention Program. It's been around, I believe, for about 10 years, and I've been very lucky to be part of it for 5 years. When I started, it was a pretty small program, and it was really about bullying prevention. Our director of community, he was bullied a lot when he was younger. And he said that if it wasn't for this one guy who stood up for him because he had tried out for football, he was this really small guy. And he was just getting bullied all the time. And then one of the Papa guys finally said, you know what, that's enough. And Jason is his name, Jason Calero, and he said if it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would have made it past another day. And just the idea of somebody standing up for me means so much. And he introduced, and then like around that time, I think he was like 15, and he decided to call up the Argos and say, what can I do to work for you guys? I'll do anything. And then he started his way from first a water boy or like helping out like on the field with the team, and then it evolved to another role. Like he's been with the organization for I believe 30 plus years.
Wow.
And he's grown to director community. And the fact that he's introduced this program, it celebrated 15 years as a program last year. The female component is where the cheerleaders come in. So as a cheerleader, we talk specifically to the females in elementary schools. So you're looking about girls who are grades 5 to 8, because I don't know if you remember, that's really the time where it's so hard for a girl.
There's peer pressure.
Your body's changing. You're noticing boys, and like, where do you interact with society, or where do you interact, or how are you acting in front of other girls around you, and who are you
And layer on the social media part of it,
especially that, right? I mean, like when we were growing up, it was just about passing notes, and it was all about
meet me at 3 o'clock after the bell.
Or you know what, if you were getting bullied, or if there were stresses that were school related, that would go from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock,
or at recess.
And then you could go home and you don't have to deal with it until the next day. And especially with social media now, it's just around the clock, because things that you talk about in the classroom can carry on online. So my role as an ambassador for the Huddle Up program is going into those schools, talking to girls from grades 5 to 8 about self-esteem, about bullying, because bullying for girls is so different from guys. Guys tend to be physical bullies, verbal bullies, and you know what? Got that off your chest. Girls tend to gear towards social bullying. So, it's those underlying ones, and it can stay with you. I mean, I think a lot of women can relate to being bullied as a kid, or not even bullied, but just the idea of being left out or not being included in things. So how do we address those? Because it can affect people's self-esteem. And that's really what I touch upon. And my stories have to do a lot with social media and cyberbullying, and just talking about what tools can be done when you see it happening, what's the difference between a bystander and a bully.
Because we all kind of can play a part, you know.
Yeah.
If you see that happening, there's some
Totally.
things that you can do.
Totally. And I mean, you know, people like to say there's the victim involved, but I like to see it, and we like to see it as everyone's a victim, because nobody essentially knows what to do at that time. But if we talk about it now and we say, hey, this is how you can handle it, and try this way, then it gives you more confidence to be like, okay, I can identify this, and this is what I could do to stop it from happening again. And what I also like to bring into that is people are so curious because they know what cheerleaders are. They know or they have an idea of what cheerleaders are. Yeah. So I always like to start my talks with, you know, like, I don't want you to be shy. I just want you to tell me, like, what do you think a cheerleader is? And you can see some of the girls are just like, like pretty and like, you know, bubbly. I'm like, great. And then I was like, what else do you think? And just to get their minds going. And you see some of them hesitant. And I was like, nope, say what you first thing that comes to your head. And people are like, blonde. And they're like, quarterback's girlfriend. And I was like, I just start laughing. I'm like, yeah, these are things that people think. But, you know, coming to the cheerleader or Argos cheerleaders, it really opened up my eyes to these powerful, strong women.
It's interesting because, you know, I'm going to touch on where you end up and ask you, where do you think you're going to end up? But it's interesting because, you know, we're obviously in a time now where, you know, everybody wants to be on TV, or, you know, people just want to be the owner personality. But you've talked about being behind the camera, in front of the camera. And I know for young girls, you know, coming up that want to go to J school or do communications, or like, you know, how do I get into sports? How do I get, you know, to become a sports broadcaster? And I always tell people, you know, I can't really speak to the sports broadcasting part, but there's always a different path for everyone, but Absolutely. You know, you can get there, and you seem to have made it.
I also can't speak to the sports broadcasting question yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's really, you have to love what you do. And you have to know why you're getting into it. And, you know, I've been very grateful to have a lot of mentors. A lot of people who I've been able to go to and see, am I on the right path? Or, you know, like, how did you know it was for you? Or how did you know that this was meant for you? And people are like, you know what? Like, if you know, trust your gut. And you have to love it. And if you're in it just to be on TV, or if you're in it just so you could be a face, or you could be popular, or for the parties, then you're going to burn out, or it's not meant for you. But if you want it, because it's like an athlete, right?
Yeah.
You have to train for it. You got to work hard. You're going to have to say no to certain things in order to get to where you need to go to work on your skills. And I think, again, passion is what's going to drive people. And if you want it enough, it's going to motivate you to continue to do what you do.
And where would you like to end up? After it's all said and done, what would your ideal job or role be?
Ideal job? Being on national network, just, you know, doing stuff like this, like getting to know people and telling those stories that you might not discover. Like, I'm really lucky with in Saga right now that we're telling those stories about the community. We're telling those stories that people would never even think to hear or to think to visit. Again, I still want to be in a place where I can give back to the community. Just be so involved, because I've been so lucky to get all these opportunities being here that I want to show the next generation you can do it. Because, for example, growing up as like the cheerleader aspect, when people say, like, you know, blonde or like this or whatever, one could argue that I never had a Filipino cheerleader or a Filipino broadcaster growing up. I mean, there are a couple here and there, but to see that I can be that person for other people is amazing, that I'm able to pursue my passions and my stories and show that, you know what, you can do it too.
Yeah. And come from different communities and still be sharing these stories.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So the Grey Cup is coming up this year. Are you excited about that? And, you know, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, how you're going to prep for that, or just sort of as a cheerleader in the past, how you prepped for that, or just what's the buzz around it? As someone who's been behind the scenes.
Well, the Grey Cup Festival, I've been lucky to be part of it for about 5 years. It's been given me a chance to travel throughout Canada. I mean, I went to Winnipeg last year, went to Vancouver. You know, the 1 year I was in Regina. In 2012, it was a 100th Grey Cup, and Toronto was so lucky to host that at the Rogers Centre. And we won, yay! And it was one of my favorite moments of being an Argos cheerleader, to be on field as the Grey Cup came and blue confetti just came out as the team won, and there was this electric energy around it. And because of the 100th Grey Cup, it was a 10-day festival in the city. So you had all these activations all throughout, and here we are as cheerleaders running around to each of these activations, going to all these events, and thousands upon thousands of people from all over Canada, even the States, come up to just see Canadian football. And that's when I realized, wow, the CFL is such an amazing thing. And to have it back here again in Toronto for this year at the end of November, it's going to be so exciting because it's so different. It's outdoors, so it's a different atmosphere. And then for myself, I honestly don't know what to expect because I'm not a cheerleader this year.
Yes,
so what's that going to
role.
be like? Different role.
Oh, yeah.
So what's that going to be like? I can't wait but be excited for it. Hopefully we get another championship ring.
I was going to say, you're showing us some bling there.
Yeah, 2012 when we won, I was lucky enough to get one of these cheerleader Grey Cup rings. It says 2012 100th Grey Cup in case I forget when it was. Yeah. But it's just a really nice piece to have because only about 30 girls received this. And looking on the team last year, it was like, oh wow, there's only like 4 of us left from like that year. Yeah. and so forth. But it's a nice memorabilia and a keepsake that I will cherish forever.
Do you wear that a lot?
Sometimes I'm wearing it today, obviously.
Yeah.
I like to wear it on game days.
Yeah.
But I am notorious for losing my jewelry.
Okay.
And my biggest fear is to lose.
You don't want to
this.
lose that one.
Yeah, you can't. This is irreplaceable. So yeah, but you're welcome to try it if you would like to. I hope it fits.
Let's try this finger. Oh yeah, it does fit on that one. Mm-hmm. And that one too. I think my fingers are kind of slender. Well, this is awesome. I'm going to give this back to you so it doesn't go back with me. But thanks so much for talking to She's4Sports. We love sharing stories about women who are doing great things in the industry, sports and journalism, communications. And it seems like, you have a lot of things on the go and a bright future, obviously. So thanks so much for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.